U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced today he's appointed a special counsel to investigate the Hunter Biden case.
And right now, to help us understand the legal significance of that move, we are joined by Vince Demore, who is an attorney with the Henning Strategies. Great to see you, Vince. So the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, David Weiss, who has been investigating Hunter Biden for years, a Trump appointee, by the way, is now the special counsel. How does that change his role?
In many ways, this is primarily a cosmetic change rather than a substantive change. As you indicated, he's been conducting this investigation now for about 5 years for various crimes by Hunter Biden, or alleged to have been committed by Hunter Biden. So what this really changes is not so much what he's doing, but the tools that he has at his disposal. The primary question it resolves is whether or not he can bring charges or pursue charges in other federal districts outside of Delaware. And that speaks to an allegation that one of the alleged IRS whistleblowers had made a couple of weeks ago, who claimed that U.S. Attorney Weiss said that he did not have that power. What's interesting here is that the appointment memo that Merrick Garland issued today was different than the one that he'd done for Jack Smith, who, as you know, was prosecuting the January 6th case. Because in this memo, he makes it explicitly clear that charges can be brought in other jurisdictions, which may signal perhaps where this is going.
Oh, okay, so this all happened after that plea deal that Hunter Biden agreed to fell apart. The judge in the case critical of the deal, especially on the question of future prosecutions. Were you surprised by that? Of course, politics is in play, and a number of people had been critical, but were you surprised by the judge's actions there?
Well, the fact that a plea deal falls apart at the last minute is not, by any stretch of the imagination, particularly surprising. These things happen all the time with some degree of regularity, although certainly they happen less frequently in federal court than they do in state court. But what was surprising here is the players involved had to know how much scrutiny would be involved in any plea agreement involving Hunter Biden. Even if he was pleading for life in prison, there would be scrutiny over it. And the fact that they didn't have their ducks in a row or seemed to consider that the court might have some reservations with what they had planned, to me, that was surprising.
And Vince, even though, as I mentioned, Weiss was appointed by Donald Trump, he, of course, and Republicans have ripped, he being Donald Trump, have ripped Weiss for allegedly going soft on Hunter Biden. I don't know if there's an answer to this question, but can the politics of this be separated from the law of this?
Obviously, very difficult to separate the two in this case, really in any cases involving any of the three special counsel investigations that are ongoing right now. But what's interesting is, given the Attorney General's recent assertion that U.S. Attorney Weiss, in fact, already had independent investigatory authority, it's hard to see the choice to appoint him here as anything other than an attempt to underscore and reinforce that independence. And fundamentally, that's a political calculation. And the next steps you're going to see in this investigation are going to come in the middle of a presidential election. So even the most mundane choices are going to be consumed by the public and by the media as political choices. And at the end of the road, regardless of what happens, both for Hunter Biden and ultimately for Donald Trump as well, there's going to be a trial. And when the bell rings on those trials, at that point, one would hope at least, and so it should go, all that's going to matter at that point will be the evidence and the law. But 100% in the entire run-up to that very moment, the politics will be almost impossible to separate.
Right.